Good evening. Welcome to week 4 of Intel 454 American Public University. Almost halfway there. Just some quick announcements. I've graded Form 2. You've taken the exam, and I've mentioned earlier that exam, some of you didn't do well on it, and I'm not going to fail. Well, what I'll do is I'll see how you do on the final paper before I give you your final grade. But I just want to make sure that you're studying for these exams, that you're not taking these on a whim, that you don't think open book means I don't need to study. That's not true. There'll be one more final at the end of the quarter, and if there shows improvement on it, then I'm not gonna throw out the exam, but I'll take that into consideration for your final grade. And then, discussion 3 I'll have marked in the next couple of days. I got a little behind because of emergency TDY I had to do, and I didn't have internet access or ready internet access, so I want to kind of spend this week kind of making it up. So last week I think we had a good discussion. Before I go on, I just want to remind everyone in the forums, please incorporate these YouTube lectures, and most of you did for this forum for section 3, at least when I was reading some of the discussion posts. So we had a good discussion on Al-Qaeda and WMD and Shinrikyo and WMD, and why and why Al-Qaeda didn't cross the threshold, and why has. And I think the key takeaways are, again, Shinrikyo had a pretty big, robust back-end process for building WMD. They had scientific and financial resources that other organizations didn't have, and thus they were able to create the sarin mix that you saw in that video. I think the other key to think about it is that despite having all those financial resources and financial wherewithal, could only conduct a very crappy WMD attack. It only killed 15 people, and if the sarin had been mixed purely, it might have killed hundreds, if not thousands. If you're the glass half full type person, you'll say despite their financial resources and despite their scientific knowledge, they were only able to do this. Then the other argument is the only reason they weren't able to do a more effective attack is because they got unlucky. They had to conduct the attack last minute. They didn't have enough time to mix the pure sarin, and that's why only 15 people were killed. So I'll let you decide whether was lucky or not on that aspect. That brings us to this week: lone wolf terrorism, NWMD. In your readings, there are some case studies where, actually, let me step back. The lone wolf is probably the biggest threat on the radar screen for Homeland Security. After 9/11, it's the organized 9/11, organized Al-Qaeda is probably, I don't want to say a thing of the past, but is not as relevant. It's the lone wolf, the one who becomes self-radicalized over the internet, that operates with a degree of autonomy that is more worrisome. Again, some examples. The biggest one is the Boston. Those two knuckleheads in Boston conducted the marathon attack last year. That's pretty significant lone wolf attack. The Fort Hood shooter, again, radicalized over the internet, radicalized over what he saw, and conducted an attack. The Times Square bomber, another lone wolf attack. Again, all of these share some sort of self-radicalizing nature, either through communications with a potential adversary overseas, or through the internet, or through their own warped viewpoints. A couple of them did travel overseas. The Tsarnaev brothers traveled overseas. Fort Hood shooter traveled, or Times Square bomber traveled overseas, but they didn't. They participated and they become radicalized, but they didn't necessarily receive organization or financial support when they traveled overseas. So that's a key point. And then what I want to just conclude with is, can they conduct WMD? Can these lone wolves conduct WMD? Again, from last week, you saw that Shinrikyo had a significant manufacturing capability to conduct WMD. It is unlikely that anything like that can occur on American soil. And it's unlikely that the lone wolf will have access to that type of manufacturing process. However, there have been attacks by lone wolf using some sort of WMD. In your readings, the Larry Harris case, the Salmonella, the Rajneeshis. I don't know if you want to say that's a lone wolf or more of an organized attack, but it was certainly a domestic terrorism. The Rajneeshis were the people that put the Salmonella in the salad bars in Oregon back in the mid-1980s to advance their political agenda. So on the scale, what can a lone wolf do? Well, they could do the Salmonella attack. Again, low level, not going to kill a whole lot of people, but it can actually, bring a lot of attention to your cause, and it doesn't require a whole lot of technical ability to do that. Anthrax. Now, this is only going to occur for an inside job, but we saw that in the 2001-2002 timeframe, where allegedly a scientist at Fort Detrick conducted the anthrax attacks that not just killed 3 to 4 people, it killed 4 people, but it really impacted our public health system. It caused cascading effects that, with our public health system, our mail system, that other types of terrorism wouldn't. Ricin. There's another attack. Again, ricin was used, someone tried to kill the president by mailing ricin in letters. It's a very crude way, and it's probably not going to cause a whole lot of damage. But again, for a lone wolf, that might be the max of his capability. So that's kind of the low level. As you go across the spectrum, you might see sarin, VX, smallpox, where I'm not sure a lone wolf could do. People have said as the technology becomes more democratized, as there's more free, unsecured ammunition, yeah, it's possible a lone wolf might be able to produce sarin, produce VX. It has technical knowledge. But again, as you go that spectrum, the ricin, salmonella is here, a lone wolf could probably do it, and then you get here VX, sarin, probably not difficult. And then you go across the spectrum that simply can't be done. You're talking about nuclear attack, WMD terrorism. You would need a very deep organization to be able to do that. So I just want you on their forums to discuss that. A quick lecture, I just wanted to give you a heads up, and if there's any questions or issues, please let me know.